Hi, I'm Bethany with Shabby Fabrics, and today I get to introduce to you the mini charm pack gift bag. This is made out of Moda's Christmas stitched fabric line. I want to show it to you here. On the front, we've got this beautiful panel. It says from our home to yours. I think that makes a beautiful gift to give. And then on the back, if we turn this around, we have a gorgeous little patchwork made with mini charm packs. So let's get right into the project. Okay. So from your mini charm pack, you'll open this up, and we're going to be using 30 of these squares. And I love, if you can see here, this is already kind of organized by color. So if you'd like, you can separate your reds, whites, tans, and greens. And if you see on the one I did here, I have my reds going down diagonally and then kind of built the color that way. Or you could mix and match them, do this any way you'd like. But you're gonna lay out your fabric and then sew everything together in your 5x6 grid with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, okay? So really, really easy patchwork on this. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna lay this out in no particular order. It's a bit haphazard. And 5. Okay, so once you get your whole project laid out to your liking, again, you'll sew these with 1/4 inch seam allowances, and you're gonna press every alternating row in alternating directions so that when you do sew them together, those seams interlock, and I'll show you what that looks like here. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got all the squares sewn together, and if I flip this around to the back, all my rows are alternating the direction that I've pressed the seam, and then I've pressed those seams together open after I've pressed them. Okay, this should measure to 10.5 by 12.5. We're gonna have one of these, and then our back panel will be cut to the exact same size. And we've got a couple other pieces to cut out. I do want to let you know that the kit that you'll be purchasing will have enough fabric and mini charm packs to make 2 gift bags here. Okay. So the next thing we're going to want to do is layer this with some interfacing. We've got Pelon 950F, which will be in your kit, and we will add just a little bit of integrity to this. I did want the bag to stand up on its own when it was, standing. So that will add a little bit of strength to that, and you can see I've already got that on the back of this panel here. Okay, so I've got that ironed down, and I did go in and trim down my interfacing, which was a tiny bit oversized, and then just gave it a quick press again to make sure everything was exactly where I wanted it. We've got the front and back of our bag. We're gonna get the side panels here and the bottom ready. And for this, we're gonna take a piece of fabric, the dimensions will be in your pattern, and we'll layer that with that same fusible interfacing and iron that whole thing down before we cut down our sizes, okay? So I've got those cut already, and we've got a kind of unique construction on this. Bear with me, it will work. I've tested this plenty. It just might seem a little funny at first. So if we can see here, I'm gonna be sewing this bottom piece between my 2 side panels, or front and back panels, and then I've got these side pieces, and these will go on either side. I do suggest sewing this piece on first to those before we get our sides on, and there will be a 1/4 inch overlap in these corners, and that is just fine. That'll be inside the bag within a later step. But very simple 1/4 inch seams. I'm gonna get this all sewn together for you and then walk you through next steps. right, so I've got these seams all sewn, and if you see here, my bottom panel, my seams are pressed towards that, and then I will press my side pieces here out away from, or towards the side seams here. Okay. And then I do want to point out that when I was sewing and I got to the little junction here, only at the bottom where the side panels met the bottom panel, I did reinforce that seam with a back stitch, just to make sure that that's not going to go anywhere, since we do have some more seams to go around that area. Okay. Okay, and then when we're done with this bit, we'll set it aside. Okay. And then we're gonna work on the handle straps, okay? And this is real simple. We've done this a lot together. This is a strip of fabric that we have pressed in half, and then we've taken both sides, pressed them in so that all of our raw edges are on the inside, and then folded that in half. We're gonna sew down each long side of this with a 1/8 seam allowance, really close to the edge there. This will be a whole width of fabric strip, and then we'll cut it in half to 2 equal portions to have 2 different handles here. So I'm gonna get that sewn right now. All right, so we've got our straps sewn. I did cut them in half to the same size. It ended up about 20 inches. And we're ready to pin these to our bag. We're gonna pin these on before we get the lining in so that we don't, first time I made this, I forgot to put the straps on, so I had a really great kind of grocery bag that did not have handles. So I'm gonna start on the side of the bag that has the patchwork, and I want my raw edges flush to the raw edge of the bag. And I pin this, what do I say, like right at the edge of that first block there. So it's 2 inches from the side panel on both sides. Make sure I'm not twisting this strap here. Sometimes I get it in and it's doing this, and then I lift it up and I'm like, ooh, that's never gonna hold straight. So again, 2 inches or right at the edge of that first block. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side, but I do have to measure this one since I don't have a visual like I have with the blocks there. And I again will be placing my strap on the inside of this 2-inch mark. All right, and then the next little bit we're gonna do here is we are gonna take this whole piece and layer this right sides together with our lining fabric. I'm gonna pin the whole thing together, and it might seem a little weird. It's not like the usual bag construction that we do, but I promise it has a really great end result here. So we'll lay this down, and the backing's gonna be a bit oversized. I prefer to have my stuff oversized so I can square up and get it exact. That way I don't have to match up 2 pieces that maybe while sewing might have gotten a little unequal in size. So I'm going to pin this together all the way around. I am gonna mark on the edge a space for turning, and it'll be about 5 or 6 inches, and I'm just gonna measure that with my eyes. And that I mark that so I don't forget to leave that opening, because I do that more frequently than I'd like to admit. I forget to leave the opening for turning, and then I have to go reach for my seam ripper. So I'll get this all pinned, and again, we're gonna go around every bit of this perimeter minus the opening here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'll see you at the machine. Okay, this is all sewn down with an opening here for turning. I'm gonna trim the backing flush to the bag front here, being very careful to cut all the way around, even in these little nooks here. And then I'm going to snip inside the concave corners here, just up to the thread. I don't want to break the thread where I've sewn. And then I am going to cut the points off on this to make it easier to turn. So I'll get started on that. So with this fabric trimmed flush all the way around the bag, I'll go in and snip the corners here. And then close to the seam, but I don't want to cut into the actual seam that I just sewed, we'll trim these corners as well around the whole bag. And then we're ready to turn this inside out. Grab your point-to-point turner to push out these corners, and then we'll press the whole thing flat as well. All my corners are out. We're going to press this flat, and then this opening here, we are going to turn under by 1/4 inch on both sides, and then I'll stitch that with like an 1/8 inch seam allowance really close to the edge. That seam that we're going to sew to close that will be inside the bag. You won't see it from the outside, so it doesn't have to be super pretty. We're just going to get it closed to keep this all together. Okay, now that your bag is all pressed flat, again, we're going to take this seam here and sew that closed really close to the edge with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Also, while I'm there, I'm going to fold the bag in half, right side together, and sew my 2 long bits here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. All right, we're almost there. We're ready for our last seam, and this is my favorite part. So we're gonna take this square here, open it up, and that should completely match up. We'll hold this seam open and sew with a 1/4 inch down both sides, and that will be your bag complete, lined, handles in, ready to give a beautiful gift in. Okay. All right, that is the bag completed. Let's flip it inside out. push out these corners. If we've done this right, that panel should line up completely, perfectly on the edges here. And then the way we've sewn this side panel will kind of want to go to the inside, kind of like a brown paper bag or like a gift bag. So I kind of go in and press these side seams and get this all squared up. You're ready to give this beautiful gift as a bag or give a beautiful gift in it. Again, your kit will make 2. It'll have your interfacing in there, all the fabric you need to complete this. You can check that out on the website. Thank you so much for giving me a part of your day and doing this tutorial with me. I'll see you on the next Shabby tutorial.